Okie dokie, so now we're going to be coming on to speaking about Blackbird again. Now, we were speaking about Blackbird last week with one of its stars, Patrick Wallace, who plays Callum. Now, this week, we're going to be speaking to yet another star of Blackbird. And funnily enough, she is actually originally from West Fife as well. Originally from Low Valleyfield, but now based in Glasgow. Scarlett Mack is one of the actresses that's in Blackbird. And she plays Amy, alongside with Andrew Rothney, Norman MacLean, Sheila Stewart, and of course, Patrick Wallace. Now, I was actually chatting to her on Wednesday in a very, very plush office somewhere in Rutland Square in Edinburgh. So, Scarlett, first of all, welcome to Radio West Fife, and could you just give us a quick reminder of what the film Blackbird is about?
Certainly can. So the film is about sort of the cultural identity of a small village called Portaran, and it's about sort of a young man called Rowan who's very concerned that the villagers and the elders who are they're the cultural knuckles of the village, I suppose, if you will. They're the ones that kind of know all the songs and the folklore, and he's worried that that's going to die out when they die if they don't pass it on. So he's trying to get the younger generations to be interested in it, and he's trying to get all of their information and glean it so that he can then pass it on. But he's coming across some obstacles along his way, so the film sort of focuses on that.
Tell us about your character, Amy.
Amy is a rebellious character. She's great fun to play, because she basically only befriends Rowan to annoy her dad. She's come back from university in Glasgow under a bit of a black cloud, and she's come back to this tiny wee village, and she's just really frustrated because she's found city life to be really fun, and sort of, she's had this life there that no one else has known about, and she's come back to this little village, and she just finds herself a bit suffocated. And her dad has taken up with this woman who is trying to be her stepmom, and she's quite young and trying to be very cool, and Amy's just so annoyed at her, and she hates that she's there, and she's really annoyed at her dad, and she's generally just frustrated with life. So he's kind of a fun, petulant character to play. Just
tell us about the relationship between you and obviously Rowan, because the film's not really about one central character. It's about the relationship between yourself, Rowan, and Callum as well.
Yeah, it is. No, absolutely. It's kind of, we represent the young generation in the film and in the village. There's three generations, then my dad and their parents' generations, and then the elders, who are really lucky to get three sort of Scottish cultural icons in the shape of Sheila Stewart, Margaret Bennett, and Norman MacLean, who are just incredible in the film. And so we were really lucky to be able to establish relationships amongst us before filming started. We had some rehearsals. Myself and the actors playing Rowan and Callum lived together throughout the whole shoot, so that helped us form our relationships as well. And the older characters we met prior to sort of starting filming, so that was great.
But how did you become part of the Blackbird story?
I was at RSAMD at the time, what is now the Royal Conservatoire, and they sent out a casting. The production team sent a casting to the school, looking for three youngsters to play these parts, and the school put a load of us up for it, and it was, we all had a great blast sort of auditioning, and it was loads of fun. And then myself and Andy, who plays Rowan, were both at the academy, and we found out that we got the parts. That was great, but we didn't know who was going to be playing Callum, and we met Patrick, and Patrick was hilarious, and we had just such a ball, so it was brilliant.
Did you get it? Did you think you were going to get the role, or was this just one of these things that you audition and then you never hear about it ever again?
To be honest, everyone works differently. I work on the assumption that I haven't got anything from any audition, because then you just come away, and when you do, it's great. And if you don't start beating yourself up about it constantly, because as an actor, that could be a really, really dangerous way to go. And you do a lot of auditions, and you're just constantly up for things, and you get excited about projects. Of course you do, and you get attached to it, certainly. Sometimes you get more attached to certain projects that you're auditioning for. But at the same time, you've just got to come away and just go, right, let's see if I get that, wonderful. If I don't, I'm not gonna go and jump off a cliff.
Essentially, have low expectations then.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's actually, that's quite dreary, isn't it? But no.
Fantastic. Now, I was speaking to Patrick on Saturday about working on a feature film shoot, especially a low budget film shoot such as Blackbird. But from your perspective, did you do a bit more shooting than Patrick? And if so, what can you just describe to us what it's like to be on a feature film shoot, especially when it's low budget?
It's hard work. You end up, when it's lower budget, you end up doing more jobs. So more people have to do more different things, and you also have to be a bit more patient as well, because sometimes things take a little bit longer because people are working that bit harder, so I think it's more kind of it's a patience thing, but also you do end up being so close to your team on certainly on low budget shoots, because everyone's doing everything to help people out, and I think you do get a real sense of camaraderie, and there's always a slight worry that it may not look as good as it could, but we were really lucky that we could see some of the rushes as there was a lot of editing going on as we were filming, so we could see some rushes as we were going, and we could see how things were sort of shaping up, and the whole feature film aspect, I would never approach a part differently if it was a feature film or a short film. I think for me personally, it's all about the character. So you're approaching the character rather than the film. Because I think it would be, certainly for me, my head would just be all over the place if I was trying to think about everybody's characters. So I kind of just look at the whole film from my perspective. So what's my character looking at when she walks into that cafe? What's my character thinking about when she speaks to him? And what does my character think about this whole thing? So I never really think about the film as an overarching piece of work until it's done.
Just coming on to what you were saying about thinking about your character, how do you prepare for playing Amy? Do you have to do any research? Do you have to look at specific traits within the scripts that details the character? What do you do to prepare for being Amy?
I think it really depends on the role, but what I did for Amy was actually very different to, I think, what some of the boys did for Rowan and Callum. But for Amy, I kind of just thought, I'm from a sort of small village atmosphere myself, so that sort of thing came naturally. That wasn't a problem. Amy, I think, to be honest, I just try and create a bit of a backstory, and every actor does this differently, by the way. There's no sort of one way to do it, but for me, it's all about thinking where she's been and what's happened to her just before she gets to that scene. So she's come back from Glasgow and she's miserable about this, but what's the specific present feeling? So, for example, before the ladder scene, she's really, really ramped up and angry about her dad. She wants to be somewhere else, and for example, I don't know, she's got sore feet. I don't know, try and give her something that's in the present that can give you something to work with during the scene. Because otherwise, I think you think too much about the dialogue and it looks contrived. But everybody has different ways of doing things. That's just my specific.
Is there any sort of funny, quirky stories from the shoots that you could probably share with us? Keep it clean, of course.
There was loads of random things that happened during the shoot. We were working on this boat called the Tinkerbell, and she was really, really stinking by the end of the shoot. We used to call her Stinkerbell. That was one of the sort of little things that was going on. And Norman MacLean, honestly, whenever Norman MacLean is around, there is always an anecdote. He used to flirt with everybody, and he is a scream to work with. And we had so much fun, and we were naming all the stuffed animals on set, and they were all called really random names. And oh my goodness, we had so much fun, because when it's when you're filming all through the day, all through the night, and you're with these new people and you're creating relationships, you end up going a little bit crazy. And I wouldn't want to give away too many of the in-jokes, though. What
would you say is the most memorable and favourite part of filming? Now, I know you can't give away certain parts because of spoilers, but if there is a particular moment that stands out to you, what was your favourite part of filming Blackbird?
My favourite part of filming? I love the bits on the boat with the accordion, because there's a bit on the boat where I pick up this accordion and I'm playing it upside down, and that was a bit of a nod to my dad, because my dad plays the accordion, but he was self-taught, and so he plays it upside down. He plays it very, very well, but he happens to play it upside down, and so that sort of came into the film because of that, and so that's I kind of like that little quirk, which my dad was very pleased with last night, so that was quite nice.
That's quite nice. Did you learn anything personally about yourself when you were filming Blackbird?
I think you always learn stuff about it. Sometimes it's not very nice. I learned. I learned so much from it, and I think it was more sort of reacting differently to and giving other people space and time to sort of get into character. For example, Andy, who was playing Rowan, needed a lot more alone time before he went into a scene, because he was, I suppose, essentially playing a character who has a mini breakdown. So you can't be chatting, and you can't be you can't be having a good time before you're going into one of those kind of scenes. You really have to just steer clear and let them get in their own space. I think that was actually quite a good lesson to learn, and sort of something that I remembered to take away from that.
How was the premiere?
premiere. It was loads of fun. It was just so nice to see. We had a sellout, which was wonderful, and it was just lovely to see a full cinema, and you could hear a pin drop, which I always think is a sign of a success. So I was delighted about that, and they were laughing in the right sort of place. I'd say the right places. They were laughing. That's what we wanted. So so that was awesome, and and they all seemed to be really, really moved by it in the end, and that's kind of what we wanted, is that people go away and just have a think about it. Like, we don't, you don't necessarily, all your thoughts can't come out about it straight away, because there's so many issues and so many things that go on in that film. And if we find any way to sort of create any form of movement towards cultural identity from it, then great. But that's not what we set out to do. We set out to tell a story, and I think the story comes across quite well and quite clearly. And I guess that in itself is a bit of a triumph. So
finally, just to talk a wee bit about yourself, where next for Scarlett? I believe from what I looked at your website, scarlettmack.co.uk, you are rehearsing a play at the moment.
I am. Well, I'm actually due to leave to go to Poland at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, so no going out tonight. So I'm off to the National Theatre of Poland tomorrow, which will be loads of fun. We're doing a play called The Possibilities by Howard Barker. And then when I get back from Poland, I actually graduate from the RSAMD, and that's next week, and which will be really cool. Emma Thompson's coming to that, so I'm quite excited about that. My mum's more excited, though, I think it's fair to say. And then after that, I've got a wee break, and then I'm doing a show in Perth at Perth Theatre called Blythe Spirit, which is comedy and hilarious, and you should definitely come along to see that. If you're about. And so loads of stuff on the we've got a comedy sketch show as well that we're doing called Mouth Comfort, and so get that on Twitter, and then you can find out all the stuff about that.
So Scarlett, thanks very much for coming on to Radio West Fife, and have a good time in Poland with the play, and congratulations from graduating from the RCS.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.